In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today we have the pleasure of talking with a very experienced technologist on the search engine side of things, and I'm very happy to welcome to the show Jason Barnard. Did I say that right?
You did, yeah. Jason Barnard, if you like, or Jason Barnard. Interestingly enough, in AI, one of the problems is the pronunciation of my second name, and Bernard sounds like Bernard.
Right.
And there's an actor called Jason Barnard, and the AI now confuses me with him because of the way people say it.
Wow. So you have an issue that only your product can solve, which I really appreciate.
Yes. And we're solving it.
Oh, I bet you are. Well, Jason, I guess give us a little bit of your personal background, and then we'll jump in.
Right. Well, wonderful. I mean, right now, I help business leaders control their brand narrative in search and AI assistive engines. So the idea that you can control how these machines understand you and represent you is fundamentally important for me, for humanity. And it's something we've already mastered. But to get here, to this point where I can understand, or I understand exactly how to educate these machines, because that's what we do, we educate them.
Sure. Yep.
I came from a background of educating children.
Oh,
I had a TV series where I was a blue dog, and the blue dog and the yellow koala, who were two characters, were educating children aged 3 to 10 years old. And that education of children has really helped me, because my approach to these machines is they are children who want to learn and don't understand. And all we need to do is explain to them who we are, what we do, who we serve. They will understand and they will represent us the way we want. That means control of your brand narrative in a world of AI. And it can seem scary, the AI, but it's not scary if you become the parent teaching the child about who you are, what you do, and which audience you serve. So I come from an education background, and although I'm very geeky, I'm still educating. I'm just educating machine children instead of real children.
Wow. Well, that is, it's a perfect union of history and trajectory and technology. And that's who would ever guess that, right? When you're in uni trying to figure out what to do, that's the track you'd be on.
Well, I come from university. I studied economics with statistical analysis, and
Gotcha.
I was really, really good at statistical analysis. And at the time, I thought, well, okay, wonderful. Don't know what I'll do. I couldn't figure it out, and I actually then joined a rock band playing double bass.
Of course, that totally makes sense. Yeah.
And then moved on to children's media, entertainment, and education.
Yep.
And then moved on to how do we educate these machines? And a lot of the way we educate the machines is through data and data analysis. So that statistical analysis part of my economics degree has finally turned out to be super useful. And I'm really happy. So I've spent the last 10 years collecting 2 billion data points from Google, ChatGPT, Bing Copilot, Perplexity, to understand how these machines think. Obviously, and this is the point, I think, that it's black boxes. Nobody knows what goes on inside their little brains.
Right.
But I can tell you, if you put in ABC, X, Y, Z will come out the other side.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter how it works inside, as long as that predictive nature of what we can do makes sense. So what we're doing is tracking what goes in, tracking what comes out, making the correlations, and 95% of the time we'll be right immediately. And the other 5%, we can figure it out once we've made the first mistake.
Well, so you're really on the cutting edge of what is being called GEO, regenerative engine optimization. Then is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I call them assistive engines because that's what they're doing. So I'm coming from a marketing perspective and saying, well, search engines like Google and Bing are where we go when we're searching for a solution to a problem, and we actively say, well, what do I need to write in order for this machine to give me the answer or the solution?
Yep.
With assistive engines, we're saying to the machine, here's my problem, help me solve this problem. And then we have a conversation with the machine, ChatGPT, Bing Copilot, Perplexity, Google Gemini. And it becomes a conversation between the machine and the human where the machine will guide you towards that solution. And from a marketing perspective, it's the funnel. From awareness, I have a problem, I'm going to express it. Through consultation, the machine starts to suggest who might be able to solve the problem or how I might solve the problem. To decision, who is the best person to solve this problem for me?
Love it.
So it's, if you approach them from a marketing perspective of we are rebuilding our funnel in their brains so that they can guide their users down the funnel to our solution at that decision moment.
Right.
Won the game.
Yeah. Yeah. You're actually seeding it with the answer that you want it to have.
Yes.
I love it. Well, that's very beautiful and poetic. And as a marketing geek, I'm excited to dig into this a little bit and just say, what are a few of the things that we can do on our own, or how do we start to think about this as marketers? And then obviously we can get help from you and from your team. But what are the steps that we're thinking about as marketers?
Right. Well, we work in 3 phases. We call it the CaliCube process: understandability, credibility, deliverability. Everything comes down to that. And before I kind of get into the explanation, we give all of this away for free. So if you go to calicube.com/guides, KALICUBE.com/guides, GUIDES, if I can spell correctly.
We'll get that in the show notes, no problem. Yeah.
Well, and you have a 60-page guide of exactly how the CaliCube process can be implemented by you without our help. Because we understand that this is useful and helpful to everybody. It's not a very complex process, but it's a very long-winded process that takes a year, 2 years, 3 years. And it's great marketing, well packaged for the machines. Branding and marketing packaged for machines.
Love it.
That's all it is.
Simple, but not easy, is what you're saying.
Exactly. So if you're great at marketing and you have a wonderful brand, then all you need to do is package it for the machine so they can understand what it is you're saying and what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you have a brand, you have something to sell. If you can market it, then you'll start to sell it. And if you can package it for the machines will help you sell it by introducing you to the subset of their users who are your audience. And that's millions of people. And that's the point of these machines. They're an interface between me and my perfect audience.
Yes.
I'm asking the machine to recommend me. But ultimately, I'm still trying to talk to the audience on the other side.
Of course.
So the understandability, credibility, deliverability idea is the funnel upside down.
Okay.
The machines need to understand who you are, what you do, and which audience you serve. Understandability. So you need to educate them. Who am I? What do I offer? Who do I serve? Then they need to believe that you're a credible solution, or they won't recommend you. Even if they understand who you are, they won't recommend you if they don't believe you to be credible. Yeah. So you need to convince them of your credibility. So you need to demonstrate to them that you are respected by your peers, that you serve your clients incredibly well, that everybody's happy with your services, that your audience engages with you in a very positive way. Right. And then deliverability is give them the material in order for them to present you to their audience, to their users, so that they can say, well, this is the best credible solution for your problem as they walk them down the funnel. So I've said understanding, credibility, deliverability. And if you look at the funnel, the deliverability part is they need content from you in a format that they can use so that they can introduce you at the awareness stage.
Right.
They've introduced you at the awareness stage and they said, well, here's an answer about, we'll take knowledge panels, which is one of our specialities. Somebody says, what's a knowledge panel? They say a knowledge panel is the information box on the right-hand side on Google, sourced from CaliCube. So they've seen my company name once already. Then they say, how much does the knowledge panel cost? The knowledge panel is free. Google gives them to anybody, but you have to work to get one. Citation, Kalicube. They've seen my name twice.
Right.
Then the person said, well, I want one, but I don't have the time to do it. I respect my time and I understand that this is going to be a huge learning curve. I want an expert to do it for me. Who are the experts you recommend? And then ChatGPT, Google Gemini will say, some experts include Jason Barnard, Rand Fishkin, Neil Patel. It will cite people that it knows will understand how to start manipulating and helping to educate, let's say, these machines. That's the consideration phase. The machine is saying, you can consider these people as potential solutions. Then they say, well, tell me more about Jason Barnard. And it will say, Jason Barnard, it will describe my entire career. He has 25 years in digital marketing and SEO. He's been working on knowledge panels for 12 years. Then it will say, Rand Fishkin, he works in SEO and is now working for SparkToro and has not very much to do with knowledge panels, but he might know something. All of a sudden, the machine's starting to make them think, well, Jason Barnard looks like more of an expert than Rand Fishkin, which is true on this particular topic, not on other topics.
Sure. Yep.
Then the person says, okay, of these people you have recommended, who should I choose? And the machine will say, well, I would recommend Jason Barnard. So you've got the deliverability, it introduces you to the conversation. Credibility, it chooses you as one of the options when somebody asks who they might consider as a solution in the consideration phase. And when push comes to shove, when the crunch moment comes, the zero-sum moment, who should I take a decision on? It will always recommend the one it understands the best, understandability, to be the most credible solution for the problem that the person has, in this case, a knowledge panel. And to give you an idea of how that might work, we have already had 2 clients through ChatGPT who have explicitly started their journey at the top of the funnel, got to the bottom, and asked to work with us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've heard lots of the stories now where people are looking at B2B solution. They go in the ChatGPT, they do whatever their process is, and end up on a company. So from our side, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to add to that. I think ChatGPT, Gemini, and so forth are hugely underestimated as sources of acquisition of clients. People look at them as tools that I can use to improve my own performance or my own business, but fail to see them as a marketing opportunity. And when you look at search engines like Google, that's obvious. But search is now becoming assistive, and they're all going to become assistive. Yeah. So we're all going down this path, like it or not. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. It's good. I'm just wondering about like Perplexity. They're kind of like the top of the heap for me right now. Is there another tool that you're using that's in that Perplexity level in terms of really good citation, really good generative, really good interaction? Is there another one, or is it the one right now?
For me, Perplexity, as you said, is the most adept at citations and helping you. Claude.
Jason, I think we dropped you.
CLAUDE is very, very,
go
very
ahead.
smart.
We dropped you for a second.
Claude,
go ahead.
CLAUDE is very, very smart, but won't necessarily help you with a pragmatic marketing problem or purchase problem. It will help you with being smart. So it's a smart. Perplexity is, I would argue, the most helpful from a buying perspective, from a research perspective.
Yeah.
Bing Copilot, I like. I think it's pretty good, and it's got the search aspect that Google has. ChatGPT can be good, but tends to not want to describe things very well if it isn't 100% sure. And Google is struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Google got sidetracked into some philosophical channels that were not necessarily focused on the outcome that we needed as the customer.
Yeah.
Is that the most polite way to say that?
Yeah, well, a friend of mine suggested that Google got caught out by legal things from GDPR. Up until a year and a half ago, when they switched to GA4, there was a huge problem at Google where they said to their teams, you need to stop working on whatever you're working on because we have to be GDPR compliant for the European Union because we're so scared of the billions of dollars of fines we'll get if we're not. And what happened, interesting, when the friend suggested that to me and said it's a theory, I mean, it's not truth, that actually there were two huge updates at Google search, one in the knowledge graph and one in the main algorithm, pretty much immediately after they'd become GDPR compliant with GA4. Right. So it makes sense to me. And I think they got caught flat-footed because they thought they had an extra couple of years to figure out the AI, and ChatGPT just pulled the rug from under their feet. Delightfully, if I may.
I agree with you. I love competition in all forms because it just brings us forward much quicker.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at kind of the future of all of this is what we've seen at Kalicube is that I've been working on brand SERPs, the search engine results page for people's names and corporations' names, and saying that search result is your Google business card. Anybody who will do business with you will search you at some point in their journey. You need to make sure that it's positive, accurate, and convincing, and it makes you look like a superstar. Yep. The knowledge panel is a huge part of that. So we've learned to build knowledge panels, and building a brand SERP and building a knowledge panel, building the best possible search result for your personal name or your corporate name is, for me, good business because it's bottom of funnel people who are searching your name. So you're going to convert more of the bottom of the funnel. Seems to me like a no-brainer.
No, I love
Turns out when ChatGPT launched, it knew who I was and who Kalicube were right out of the box. Turns out that exact strategy of educating Google about myself and my company worked for ChatGPT, works for Perplexity, works for Bing Copilot, works for Claude, because they all work the same way.
Sure.
Large language models plus knowledge graph with a bit of extra source by the human engineers, and they can produce an answer that makes sense most of the time. And they're all using web data, machine learning, large language models, knowledge graphs. They're serving the same public, trying to achieve the same goal. They're all the same to the great overall. They all have differences, obviously. Sure. But the Kalicube process works for all of them. And I was stunned and delighted that this simple process works for everyone. And maybe we can come into some of the practicalities of what you need to do, because once again, it isn't complicated, but it takes a lot of resources and a lot of effort and a lot of data.
So, I mean, what would be one thing that I would do as a brand manager today to start turning the ship in that direction of being searchable and representable by the LLMs?
We're going to talk about, the oil tankers. If you've got a little tugboat, it will turn around in, let's say, 500 meters. Yeah. A huge oil tanker will take 50 nautical miles in order to turn even a quarter of the way around because of the way they work. And we're looking at that. We're looking at these machines where Google's search index is like a tugboat. And these large language models and the generative AI assistive engines are like huge oil tankers taking time to turn around. Sure. So number one is be patient. It takes time. These machines take time to learn and to change the way they perceive the world and represent it. But the starting point is always the same. Identify one web page that represents your entity, and it needs to be a web page you control. So, for example, on your company website, it would be the about page on your company website for your company. For myself, it would not be my profile page on my company website. It would be my about page on my personal website.
Sure.
I am not my company. And that's a big mistake people make. You need to control the source of information that these machines use as the reference point. And then, once you've done that, once you've defined which is the page, the about page on jasonbarnard.com, let's say for me, I need to convince these machines that that's the reference point that they need to start from every time.
Right.
And to do that, I simply need to create a very clear explanation of who I am, what I do, and who I serve, why I'm credible, and then link out to all of the corroborative sources online that confirm what it is I'm saying, making sure before I link to them that they do indeed corroborate what I'm saying, that they're consistently corroborating what I'm saying.
Yep.
Then I link back from them to my entity home, the web page, about page on my website. So Google goes from my website seeing this message, who am I, what do I do, who do I serve, why am I credible, goes to Wikipedia, comes back, sees the same message, comes back, goes to Crunchbase, sees the same message, comes back, goes to Forbes, sees the same message, comes back. And by that repetition, the child will understand and believe. That is how you educate them. And it's, as I said, theoretically very simple. The reality is, as human beings, we're inconsistent, we miss things, we don't realize all of these resources talking about us. And the real clincher here, we don't know which resources are most important for Google.
Right.
But at CaliCube, we have an algorithm that figures out which are the ones to focus on, which are the ones that the Google is using, because what it uses for you, Emanuel Rose, will not be the same as for me, Jason Barnard. So perhaps for you, Crunchbase is important, but for me, Muckrack is more important.
Sure.
So our algorithms figure that out, and that's where data comes in.
Wow. Well, I do love the simplicity and the specificity of it, understanding that there is a lot of, you guys have got some secret sauce in there as well.
The secret sauce is actually knowledge and experience. I've been doing this for 12 years, so I've made every mistake you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
So if I come across something unusual, I can usually guess what the solution is, and I'll be 95% of the time I'll get it right. And the other secret sauce is that consistency, and being consistent as human beings is pretty much impossible.
Yep.
So the platform also tracks our consistency and rings alarm bells when we're getting it wrong. So it's a machine helping us as humans present ourselves to other machines so that those other machines can present us to other humans so that they will do business with us.
Exactly.
Isn't that lovely?
Oh, yeah. No, what I love the best, too, is that you have bots talking to bots, setting appointments for humans, right? Like, that's also...
Yeah. Well, I think we're in a lovely situation, and people think, oh, bots, we're talking about machines all the time. The machines become the focus of attention, but the bots are simply linking human beings together. It's all about human relationships. Yeah. It's just the bots are changing the way those human relationships are initiated, built, and grown.
Yeah, I like that that explanation of it. I feel the same way. It's I'm training that bot to look for the things that are important to me about other people. Yeah. And it's finding those things out and then having that initial conversation, icebreaker, whatever you want to call that. And then it sets up the opportunity to meet like this, or to meet on Zoom, or to meet in person. And it's leveraged my time and allowed me to do a lot of other things in the interim.
I mean, 100%, absolutely. And the other thing which is kind of cute in the whole thing is it gives you the opportunity to find out more about me before you meet me.
Excellent. And I would say, yes, I love it. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, if the machine misrepresents me, we're going to come on this conversation and you're going to say things to me that don't make sense.
Right.
And vice versa, of course. And I think we're foolish if we don't think that other people research us, and that if we don't research people, we should be researching them, because it's a good way to better understand how to initiate that relationship that the bot has set up for us. Yeah. And that misrepresentation is hugely interesting, because human beings are multifaceted. We have multiple aspects to who we are. And I was doing children. I voiced a blue dog in a cartoon.
Yeah.
So 12 years ago, Google would have said, Jason Barnard is a cartoon blue dog.
Right.
10 years before that, it would have said Jason Barnard is a punk folk double bass player.
Yeah.
And it's up to me to tell Google and ChatGPT and Perplexity which is the most important facet of me today, so that they can represent me to the current audience I have. Because 30 years ago, the audience would be music fans. 20 years ago, it was children's entertainment fans. And now it's business leaders who want me to help them control their brand narrative online. And so I need to educate the machines to put that to the fore every time anybody asks about me.
I think it's a brilliant interpretation of search engine optimization, and assistive engine optimization.
Yep.
I'm gonna steal your phrase now, but I like that. I think it's powerful and it's unique, and I appreciate you sharing that concept with us, Jason. And I hope that everybody goes to CaliCube and downloads your workbook and it starts to put some of that into action, and also checks out the fundamentals of brand search.
I wrote a book about it. Ooh, and that was a really interesting story because somebody contacted me the other day and said, I've read your book, but with AI, what's changed? And the answer was nothing.
Wow.
Because what I was doing when I wrote the book, which is only 2.5 years ago, but it was before ChatGPT, everything in that book still holds true. And it will hold true for the foreseeable future because these machines function in that single way. Do I understand who this person is? Do I believe they're credible? And do I have the material from them in order to introduce them to the subset of my users who are their true audience?
Wow.
It's always the same. Branding, marketing, packaged for machines. Works every time.
Well, that's genius, and I'm glad you figured it out. And thanks for sharing that with me.
Took me 10 years to figure this out.
Well, it's worth the $24.99 for the hardcover. It's what it sounds
It is,
like.
yeah. I enjoy the book as well, and I wrote it.
Well, Jason, thank you so much for taking time from your schedule to have this conversation with me. And I look forward to, I'm going to reach out to you again in a few months and see if you'll come back on and let me know what's changed.
Yeah, brilliant. And a lot will change. I've just implemented a whole new upgrade to the CaliCube Pro platform, which is the 2 billion data points and the way we present it, everything to how we package for machines. I've just changed that. And I'm very confident that we've just made a big leap forward. And in a year's time, even 6 months' time, we're going to see some really phenomenal results from this that are going to surpass what we've already managed to do, which is already, in my opinion, really rather jolly good.
It is. It's genius. And really, thank you very much for sharing. And I hope you have a great week.
Yeah, thank you so much, Emanuel. That was delightful.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.